doing its thing. Okie dokie. I think we're live. Just refresh the page, make sure. Do a little dance. Excellent condition, it says. Though it's not showing. Okay, there we go. I see you dancing now.
Great.
Yes. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another Filmmaker chat. If you didn't already know, back in the day, that feels like forever ago when I started this in 2020, I originally planned for these to be Patreon only content. However, due to the pandemic, I felt like we needed to connect more than ever. And so I do the live streams here for you to watch live. And then if you ever miss a live stream and you want to see the whole archive or you want to rewatch it or whatever, you can do so by supporting me on Patreon for $10 a month. And there's a link in the description below. But I'm super excited because this is different than our usual filmmaker chats. One, we're having Zach back. Hello, Zach.
Hi.
And two, we're also doing this a little differently. I'm not interviewing Zach about his filmmaking or his films, though I always love to do that. Oh, and there's the Roomba. One
Yes.
second.
Oh, I love it.
That's just for you. That's you're special like that. You get the Roomba treatment.
I'm glad the Roomba's like, oh, Zach is here. Wonderful.
Coming out.
Coming out.
But this is different because we are going to walk you through tips and tricks for FilmFreeway, submitting your film on FilmFreeway. And just so you know, to have some backstory, this is from an amazing thread that Zach tweeted what feels like ages ago because we've
27 years ago.
27. We've been trying to schedule this for so long, but both of our second half of the year has been wild. But Zach did this wonderful tweet where he is currently or was currently submitting to film festivals with his project. Zach, I'm gonna say it wrong again.
Canusa Street.
Thank you. With Canusa Street, which is amazing, and you should definitely check it out. But you are submitting to projects, and you realize that this is something that filmmakers do all the time, and they have lots of questions for you. So you made this amazing thread that had all this great information, and it was even some of it was new information to me too. And I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And I think I immediately reached out to you and was like, would you like to make this a filmmaker chat? And you said yes, and then we both got busy, but we're finally here.
Finally, we did it.
Finally, yes. But for those of you who don't know Zach, I did do a filmmaker chat with him previously, but Zach is a several award-winning filmmaker and director, screenwriter, producer. Am I leaving anything out?
I sing and write songs sometimes.
He does. That's true. They're very entertaining.
Thank you.
You have produced things for Buzzfeed, Cartoon Network, Space Channel. You were a script coordinator for the Kids Tonight Show and a winner of the Television Academy Student Emmy. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you very much. That was a really, really cool day.
Yeah, I bet. That's so cool. But yeah, so we are here to talk about FilmFreeway. And if you aren't familiar with FilmFreeway, there is a link in the description below to go to FilmFreeway. But if you've never submitted to a film festival before, FilmFreeway is basically the main platform that people submit to film festivals on, unless it's Sundance.
Actually, no, Sundance is on.
Oh, are they on there now? Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
South by isn't. We can shame them into getting on board the bandwagon. But no, so yeah, Sundance is on FilmFreeway. They made a big thing about it. They were like, and now Sundance is on FilmFreeway. Like it was a thing.
Wow, that's amazing. But South by Southwest isn't, right? Is that
yeah,
true?
so we should everyone should gang up on them and just make all our lives easier.
Pressure. Yeah. So there are a select few that are not on FilmFreeway, but for the majority, most film festivals are on FilmFreeway, which is great because it makes it super easy to submit to film festivals. And if you're super old school like me, it's basically like Without a Box, but way better.
Without a Box plus. is
Yes.
kind of it's kind of what it is.
R.I.P. Without a
I know.
box.
Without a Box was fun. That was a good
It
time.
was. Yeah. It feels like, do you remember AOL? We're dating ourselves here.
You've got mail.
Yeah. Um, hello, Flip and Zippo. Flip and Zippo entered the chat. By the way, feel free to put your own questions in the chat, but this is going to be more like a webinar setting, but feel free to put in questions.
What's
And
up, Flip and Zippo?
yeah, I'm going to transition to our first slide here. So there we go. Our first slide is your film profile page must. And this is super important because when you submit your project, you want to make sure you have like a profile page for it. Correct, Zach?
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of I mean, just like any dating app, it's important to have the like your bio and your picture and all those things have to be there. Because I mean, that's kind of what Film Freeway is. It's like we're sending ourselves out there, and the festival is going to swipe right or swipe left. So it doesn't hurt to have all like a nice kind of pretty. It's almost like you're making a website for yourself on this platform.
Right. Yes, exactly. So you had 6 elements that you must include in your profile page.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is the poster, and you need the one sheet, like your kind of vertical, 8 by 11 or whatever it is poster. But then you also, because of the way the layout of the page, you can kind of see on the top that your whatever the thumbnail that you use for your film,
Right.
that takes up 50% of the page. So you want that to look catchy and the artwork on there. Don't let it auto grab a screenshot from minute
Mm.
7, where someone's like,
Or someone's awkwardly, yeah.
yeah, yeah, don't do that. But yeah, so like you want the poster, you want if there's a trailer to watch in case they don't want to watch the film, they just want to watch 30 seconds of it. Or I think you can actually browse for films directly on Film Freeway as well. So
Oh, wow.
it helps to have the trailer available in the event that just someone discovers your project. I don't know if discovery, like how well that happens, but have the trailer, have everything. Have the trailer, have the
Mhm.
poster, any EPK materials, your still images, like screen grabs from production stills from the shoot, any behind the
Right.
scenes photos, articles, press links to people out there talking about your project, like all of you kind of, it's sort of like the package that you want to send. Going back to Without a Box days, like they actually asked sometimes for like a physical EPK of like send
Mm.
materials along.
Mhm.
So this is just you want this to be a one-stop shop for everything about your film. Any news articles that talk about your movie, about the making of your movie. For my pilot Canusa Street, we had several news crews visited us because we were in the middle of the Northland in northern Minnesota. So it was a big deal when we were there, and they were excited that we were filming. So over the course of the production, we just kind of kept track of the different news articles that were talking about our pilot, um, and when they published, we added them to the page. And so you kind of want to start doing like press and PR before you even get your film into festival land, and add that to the homepage of your film. And then
Mhm.
at the end, you would just want to cap it off with a well articulated director statement and a bio. And this is
Right.
not a place to make it a joke like, oh, I made a movie and it's great, or like, oh, this is the best movie you've ever seen and you got to play it. Like, don't be dumb, like actually
Yes.
give some substance and some thought to your director statement, because this is really, if you think of it like a college application and this is the Common App, right, then this is
Yeah.
kind of the only place where you're going to have that personal statement to add some context to the story of who you are and why you're doing this. And because outside of that, they're not going to ever ask you, hey, so why did you make this film, and we're going to include that in our judgment process. So
Right. Right.
yeah, all of this is just a way to give as much of a whole picture of your project as you can. And if you're missing some of these things, it's not the end of the world. But if other films have them, it could potentially could look more legit than another film where it's clear they didn't give a shit and didn't try.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think, also you were talking about things not to say in your director statement. I've also seen directors who are very green be like, from the visionary director so and
Oh,
so, and it's
yeah.
like you can't give yourself that title. Sorry.
Yeah, don't call yourself an award-winning director on the film festival page. Like, don't do that, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be like I don't know. This is my and some some people can do that and they just have that thing where like they do it and no one cares. But I've always lived in the camp of let your work speak for itself and let
Mm,
your film do the bragging for you. Like if it's good, people are gonna see it, right?
right,
So
right.
I don't need to say my bio from award-winning director Zack Morrison. He did these cool things. Like just I'm just gonna talk about why I made the film, and then you're
You
gonna
don't
watch
bring
it
up the student Emmy at every chance.
everywhere I go.
You carry it around with you, just
It's
I'm
like
surprised it's not in the background right now, you know?
it's I mean, it's right on the shelf up there.
It's not
Uh,
far, it's not far.
no, no, it's like that episode of The West Wing where they're like, "Hi, I'm Toby Ziegler. I work at the White House," and they have a bet with each other. Uh,
I love that. Yeah, and then I think, the other thing I wanted to point out here, before I'll pull up an actual profile page and we can look at that as well.
yeah,
But on yours specifically, the example here is from your film. And I love that your still has the laurels from all the different festivals that you got into. So I think that's a great idea. Like keep updating that thumbnail as you get into more film festivals, right?
yeah. That is a Adobe Photoshop file that is just growing exponentially larger because I had to keep adding laurels to it. And I didn't
Congrats
I
for
mean,
that.
thank you. I didn't start doing that until there were enough festival submissions where it was like cool.
Mm,
Because like
okay, okay.
when you get the first one, depending on where you land, I don't want to like you don't want to just put one and then put two because then it looks like you're
Right.
not getting into any festivals. So I
Interesting.
I
Okay.
had another image that I used that was the original. It was the poster art just reformatted for horizontal, and I
Gotcha.
used that for the first 5 or 6 festivals. And then when I had enough laurels to sort of reformat it into a cool like block, and some films do a runner on the bottom, some have them on the top, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Then like when I got enough and kind of it was about halfway through our festival run is when I reformatted the image to kind of say, hey, we've played here. Because at that point we're playing like we did our first pass of festivals where these are like the ones that we want to play at, the
Mm,
ones that are kind of reach or the Oscar qualifying ones at the beginning of our list.
right.
And then we were then shifting into the hyper local festivals. And I know we're going to talk about all this in a bit,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the strategy was shifting. And so it then made sense to say, hey, here's where we played before. This is why you should program us.
Yeah, totally. Um, I love that. I feel like there was one other thing I was gonna mention, but I can't remember. So let's just take a look at this will be one of my so this is Film Freeway, and we'll go to one of my films. And so
Yeah.
here I don't have a thumbnail that has festivals laurels on it, but I have done that before. And I also don't have a trailer, which I know is bad. I know.
It's not bad. It's just it's not I mean, I don't know who in like as a festival programmer is going to watch a trailer, but I
Mm.
just feel like I
Well, they
wanted
want
to
it for marketing, right? Like when you get in, that's when I've
yeah.
asked for it usually.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
when you get into a festival, they're going to want to play it and then that's when you would potentially want to publish it. So
Right.
I've been sitting on my trailer for Canusa Street and we were kind of waiting until our first whenever the first festival's, acceptance happens for our premiere and then we're going to publish it online and, so depending on
Nice.
where you are in the life of your film, it doesn't hurt to not have one, you know.
Yeah, and in this case, this is like a micro short, so this film is like 6 minutes tops, you know? So I was always like, I could cut you a trailer, but it's like most of the film, you know?
Right. Right.
So I should probably have still tried something, but you can see here I also have the poster, and then this is also our log line. That was something I don't think we actually had on the list, but you can also have your little log line there. Here is the director bio that he was talking about and the director statement. And here you can attach an EPK. So I have like an actual PDF of my EPK
Yeah.
that I upload every time that I have one. And then, it's great to have social accounts for your projects. You can link to them as well, and photos. And I will say to all my female filmmakers out there, it really helps to have photos of yourself on set. Um, you got to work extra hard, but you do. I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like doing like one of these, or
Yeah.
like, like at the monitor, the point,
There's the
like
monitor
you have to
shot.
you
Yeah.
have to have all those shots. But I hear you. Like it always helps to have that. Oh, just have a photographer on every shoot.
Yes,
That comes.
absolutely.
You hire a director of photography, a DP, a script coordinator, an AD, and a set photographer. Like that's just on the must haves list for
Yes,
all
absolutely.
shoots.
I always hire a videographer so that they're getting
Yeah.
video and stills at the same time, which is really great. And then also, we didn't talk about this, but there's a credit section as well where you can
Yes.
add in the full cast and crew, which is also really great. And what's also great about that, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but like it builds. So, like for example, here you can see I've had another project, and so you can say like, hey, I'm the director, but I was also the director on this other project that's on Film Freeway. So once you start
Yeah.
adding films, it kind of is great that way.
Yeah, it's a great, especially if any of your talent, either in front of the camera or behind the camera, have done something of note, like, if they've done a film that has played places or that people would recognize, that's always helpful to put. If you have an actor that obviously has a name recognition,
Mhm.
there you go, and so, but also if your DP was a DP on a cool project that people might know, if you're like our gaffer worked on a lot of movies, and so he was one of the first names
Oh.
we included on IMDb and our project page, just because like he made the thing look incredible, and he worked on, like Crocodile Dundee and Mighty Ducks, so
Oh,
it was
wow.
it was great. Yeah, just and
Yeah.
it's a fun place where also if any of your crew wants to show off the project to friends and family, it's you want to have their names,
Yes.
have the credits there.
For sure. Yeah. And then there's also a specifications section, which I think is also very important to fill out because you want to make sure it has stuff like what is the project type? What is your runtime? What is your budget? Runtime is like so important. You don't want to put the wrong
Yes.
number here.
I mean, I could talk for 20 minutes about film runtimes for film festivals.
We'll have to do another one just for
Yeah,
that.
part two on runtimes. But no, I mean, this is all information that festival programmers need, because for too many reasons to get into right now, all of those little factors, genre and runtime, and even as like breakdown of formats from the technical side for exhibition, like all that stuff
Mhm.
matters, because that's all information that they can use when they're putting a block together to determine, what because what they're looking for as programmers could be different depending on the festival. So, they
Mhm.
might be wanting to build a block of films that are very different and all have different aspect ratios, or maybe they're looking to build a block that each filmmaker's from a different country, or maybe they want a block
Mhm.
of people who just shot on like 35 millimeter film. So all of these things are there's just information that you can give them that they're going to use or not use, but it's better to have the information so you have it, as opposed to not having the information and making it look like you just didn't fill out Film Freeway.
Totally, 100%. And I'm curious, there's production budget. I'm curious what your opinion is on that. Do you think that film festivals take that into consideration?
I don't i don't know. I mean, it depends, right? There are some festivals have categories for micro budget projects and zero budget projects, and if it's a festival that factors that, sure. But
Mm.
I think in general it's just sometimes that's information that makes its way into the program. Other times those are just data points that the festival consider, or just they like. I don't know. I don't have an answer to why the budget's necessary, but
Right.
um, if you think of these kind of sites modeled after, again, Without a Box, which was basically just an IMDb like feeder page.
Mm, mhm.
That was all just data points that you had on IMDb, so they had to include it on without a box, so it could populate IMDb. And then FilmFreeway, I guess, still has it. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Carryover. Yeah.
But
I mean, I could see it being important for features for distribution, perhaps.
and honestly, that it could be that if that information is in the program, that could be something that a potential buyer might use, because any kind of deal is going to just be based off sort of what the film costs to make, and those are all back end discussion sale questions. But sure, I mean, if that
Right.
makes its way into the program, that or just on a database somewhere, that wouldn't hurt, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's go back. Let's slide. Whoop, I went too far. Slide
No.
two. So you've made your film. You're ready to submit to Film Freeway. Let's talk about Film Freeway's main dashboard because that's where you will use to search for film festivals.
Yeah, this page is fun. It's way easier than any other former site used to be, because it's got nice, pretty pictures. On the right hand side, I'll start from where the pictures are. What
Mm,
I've only recently noticed on this most current festival run, I guess I missed it last time. The festivals that it populates in that top box are the ones that have the most impending deadlines. Like this next up deadlines are populated first by default.
mhm,
And this, the list is all the festivals ranked by latest deadline, and then that box is like the most popular ones or the biggest name ones relative to upcoming deadlines.
gotcha.
On the screenshot, we have New York Film Week. I think that's Ann Arbor or annual something. Indie Shorts
Mm,
in Cannes, Toronto, Hollywood Web Fest, Ann Arbor Film Festival is the one with the A. So those are probably the most trafficked film festivals that have upcoming deadlines. But then you start to scroll down and you see Blackbird Film Festival in Cortland, New York, Phoenix Shorts Toronto Independent Festival of Clift. Clift, yeah,
Cliff?
they have fun names.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so those are the festivals that are the most recent coming up. So you can just scroll through that if you just want strictly just to search by what are the festivals that are immediately coming up. But then on your left hand side, here's where you can actually browse and narrow down your search for particular festivals. I mean, if you know the festival by name, you can just search for it at the top. But just kind of looking at, just to pull this up, just looking at the bar here, you have call for entries. You do open and closed or open only. Sometimes if you know the festival and you know the programmers, they could give you a waiver code so you can submit even though it's closed. But we go down to event type. Gold is their kind of subscription service where you can get discounts on submission fees. You can narrow it down by film festivals and screenwriting contests, music contests, photography, different types of events. Under that, you can search by categories. So if I'm a documentary filmmaker and I just want to submit to documentary friendly festivals, I'll check the documentary box. If I have a student short film, I'm going to do student shorts. I'm submitting my pilot, so I'm submitting in the television category, potentially web and new media. So you have all these different criteria point that you can use to narrow down your search, and it's super handy because it really breaks down just you can narrow it down to anything you want, and then depending on your
Mm,
festival strategy, if you have your major fests and then your secondary fests and then your local fests and then your niche festivals, you can go for those wide broad strokes, and if you really narrow it down just by using these different event filtering tools.
right.
If you scroll down on the page, which is not
Mhm.
on this
I
very well
actually have it up. You
oh,
can't
you
see
do.
it, but
Oh,
I'm following along and doing all the
oh,
things you
okay.
say.
I totally can't see it, but that's great. If you keep going down, you'll then see. I'm just going to pull up.
Entry fees, years running, project runtime.
Yeah, so you can scale it like you're looking for an apartment on apartments.com, and you just want to rank how much rent you want to pay. So you can do it by entry fees, how long the festival's running. Typically a longer running festival is probably a much potentially better organized festival, but I've seen new young festivals be extremely well organized. So that's depending on what you're looking for, you can narrow that. Some festivals have limits on run times. festival focus, region, country, entry, deadlines. These are all just different criteria points. What I get really excited about, if you scroll past that, you start getting into these basically playlists, these kind of curated lists of festivals that FilmFreeway puts together, and they do a really, really good job of narrowing down these festivals. So you have your Academy Award, BAFTA Award qualifying festivals. This is the Oscar list festivals. These are if you win Best Short, you're eligible to be nominated for an Oscar or a BAFTA. Trending are like your hot festivals that are popular. Same with in the spotlight, most popular. There's just different criteria points that if you're trying to build a festival submission list and you're looking for your upper tier festivals or your fun big event festivals to submit to, you can use these tools. Same with Top 100, luminaries, festivals that have been going for 10 years, pace setters, visionaries. And so just all of this is a way that you can just completely curate to your own particular specifications your film festival submission list. And it's possible that you can do this all on one day, potentially multiple days, because the festival cycle is annual and the back half of the year comes back around again. But they really make it easy for you to submit to multiple festivals at a given time just based off of different search and criteria points.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That is so cool. I don't think I've ever explored these, like, as you called them, playlists before.
Yeah.
I love that. They are very cool. And it very easily, as you can see on the screen right now, I went with the Academy Award, BAFTA qualifying. And you can also see that the film festival also has a little tag saying Academy Award
Yes.
qualifying on it. But this is great because it makes it a lot easier for you. So it just automatically sifts it all for you. So here's the BAFTA qualifying tag. So let's go back to the
I'm
presentation. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
I was just saying I'm following along on the website now. So
Oh, good, good.
yeah.
All right. So we kind of already went over this, but there are 4 main festival categories. You want to go over those, Zach?
Yeah, so this is how I break down my festival submission list. This is at Columbia's graduate film school in our like intro to production course when we were talking about shorts and festivals. This is the strategy that they taught me, and I'm now going to teach it to you. But the 4, you're kind of looking at 4 major categories when you submit to any festival. I mean, for shorts or features.
Mhm.
Your big top tier dream premieres, again, we're thinking of this similar to applying for college, right? You send to your reach schools, your big top tier, your Sundance, Cannes, Berlin, Toronto, Venice, like just
Right.
why not, right?
Rebecca. Yeah.
You got nothing to lose. Send to the big ones. And if it's a feature, that's incredibly important. If it's a short, you send it anywhere, right? Once you have, because you want to plot out your world premiere if it's a feature film. That's probably the most important. The world premiere is an incredibly important data point for the success of your film on the festival circuit. Less important for a short film, but incredibly
Right.
important for a feature. So where that big premiere festival is a huge that's a huge discussion between the director and the producer and the investors, and that could make or break the success potentially of your feature film.
Because
For a
again,
short,
it's marketing, right? They're gonna
it's
use that for
all
marketing.
marketing, absolutely. And
Mhm.
your major festivals all want to be the first. They all want to go in the comment section and say first. We had
Yeah.
it here. We had it here first. So you want to plot out your big premieres, and then once you have kind of that, whether it's Sundance or Toronto or Berlin or South by or whatever it is, as you're starting the festival calendar, your major festivals are kind of tent poles, quarterly sort of throughout the year. Within that time, you then want to look down to your larger, well-known festivals, typically that are on the Oscar qualifying list, that kind of happen in between your major tent poles. And this is where you get your Tribeca,
Mm.
your
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, your Holly Shorts, Austin Film Festival,
Mm.
Flickers
Mhm.
in wherever the hell that festival is.
Is Portland one?
Yeah,
Is that
so
yeah,
I mean, let me
yeah.
just look up. Let me just look up the on the Oscar list on FilmFreeway. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'll go over there.
Aspen Shorts Fets, Aspen Shorts
Oh,
Fest,
right, Aspen. Say that
Tribeca.
5 times fast.
Yeah, Seattle Film Festival, Santa Barbara, New York Children's Film Festival, Florida, Cleveland International, Palm Springs Short Fest. So like, just you want to go, just these are your festivals that run through. Flickers is in Rhode Island. That's where it is. New
Mm.
Orleans, like all of these festivals are huge, big events that are not necessarily, they're not your major Marvel studio tent poles, but they're the
Yeah.
your Oscar movies that play in
They're
December
DC.
throughout
No,
the
just
year.
kidding. Just
uh,
kidding. No offense, DC fans.
yeah, and then and so these are your major Oscar festivals, and then after that, and you kind of can map out an entire year submission calendar from that.
Okay.
After that, you kind of get into your smaller yet cool regional fests that I can travel to. So for me, growing up in New Jersey, these were all the festivals, kind of in the Northeast and adjacent. So
Mm.
this is stuff like the Big Apple Film Festival in New York, Coney Island and Coney Island. There's festivals in Florida and Richmond Film Festival in Virginia.
Atlanta.
Atlanta Film Festival in Atlanta. You have your stuff in LA, your um, Pasadena Film Festival, your North Hollywood Cinefest, right?
Mhm.
Trying to think what
Um,
Dances with Films is a big one.
right. Yeah.
Or like Everything's Fine. Its first
Rain
festival.
Dance?
Yeah,
Rain Dance?
Rain
Yeah.
Dance is in England.
Okay.
But then Everything's Fine played
So
in
not local
not local. They
or
played in
regional.
St. Louis International Film Festival, which is a really cool one. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so like you want to budget for uh smaller. Woodstock Film Festival in upstate New York is a great example. Use the places that are cool events that you can go
Mhm.
to, that are big celebrations of movies and are not necessarily, they're not like the a place where a feature film is going to get bought and sold, but it's a
Mm.
place where like you're going to go and have an amazing time at that festival. You're going to meet
Right.
people, you're going to going to do the thing. And so you want to be able to travel to those, right? And so those are kind of the vacations, the work trips that become just
Mhm.
a fun time. And then the fourth category is your mega hyper locals that you can drive to and you're going to be at.
Mhm.
Everything's Fine tomorrow is playing at Kevin Smith's Smod Castle Film Festival in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. And
I'm so
so
jealous.
it's a really small festival, but Kevin's there. He's kind of hosting the thing, and it's a bunch of New Jersey filmmakers. But we're all going and we're all hanging out in Atlantic Highlands for a couple days. So, and that's
So
great
cool.
because you're just that's the hometown screening, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it's New Jersey Film Festival, Garden State Film Festival, all of the mega local festivals in your area that you start to build a relationship with as a local filmmaker. And it gets to the point where you don't need to apply to the festival. You can just call up the programmer and say, hey, I got a thing,
Yes.
can I submit, do you have a spot for me? And because it's fun to play in your hometown and adjacent areas, because then you can invite people, and that's where your grandma's going to come and to that event, or
Yeah.
your friends who are not film people can come to a screening and maybe sit through an hour of other people's weird stuff, and then they'll see your movie, and it's fun.
Yes, totally. And like all the little niche film festivals too, right? Kind of
Yeah.
they can be a lot of fun too, even though they're small.
Yeah, but that's also, you have really important hyper local niche festivals. There's festivals for women in film. There's
Mhm.
black horror festivals. There's queer cinema festivals. There's all these different, small but very tight, supporting community festivals for filmmakers of a particular, you know, race or creed or make or model or genre or demographic or whatever it is. And those are all super important little community events that you can totally submit your film to, especially if it reaches one of those demographic points. Like
Right.
my film's a musical, and so if there's a musical film festival with a female lead, like I'm sure there's an event out there that's specifically for that type of a movie, and you can submit your film to that, and that's a great way to add laurels to your list, and also, if it's an event that is kind of bringing a community together from around the country, that's just a cool event to be at. I had a
Right.
film in college that was about a it was about a musician and his sister was deaf, and they were working on relating how do we communicate, because I do music and you can't hear it. And
Mm.
we played. There's an entire, across the world, a series of deaf film festivals for,
Wow.
for deaf audiences and films made about the deaf community. And it was cool, and it was a world I knew nothing about until I went through the process of writing the script and learning about it. And then when I submitted the project, audiences that in Italy and London and Australia and all around the world were like, "Oh my god, this is great! We come to our festival and play this." So you never know what avenue you're going to find for your film, just based off of those hyper local festivals that are real community building events. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
cool to go down the deep dive of film festivals, because there's like there's just very specific types of events that you could totally play at.
Totally. And again, you can go to the festival focus section and narrow down there, but you can also search in the tab. So I've definitely searched for like micro horror and just seen what comes up. So you can search for like keywords and not just film festivals in that tab as well. Just so
Oh
you
yeah.
know. Yeah.
And I mean, horror especially. There
Oh,
are
yeah, there's tons.
horror fans are wild, and you can find you can play midnight screenings around the country year round if you know where to
Yeah.
look. So
Yeah. Oh, and before we move on, there was something else you said that I think is super important and was something that I didn't really learn about until this year, but is that building those relationships with festival programmers and festival directors is also really key. And so
yeah,
you mentioned like, oh, I know programmers that like I just email, and I have relationships with a few as well where I email them and like before I even submit, I say, "Hey, I have a film about this. I was wondering if it's a good fit for this year." And they give me a thumbs up, yes or no, on whether or not I should submit. That's not a guarantee, but
yeah.
it's great to build those relationships. And I tend to get in those festivals over and over again because of that. So
Yeah, and that's how you do it. You start just making
mhm.
relationships, whether it's
Yeah.
with filmmakers who you run into on the circuit at the same festival every year, or at similar festivals around in the same area, or with the people that run the festival, and you play there once and maybe you play there a second time and you get to know them.
Hmm.
I got very plugged into the New Jersey area film festival community just because that's my home, and so
Yeah.
I know everyone who goes to those festivals and who runs those festivals. And it's just it's a cool, it's networking, which is exciting and just fun. And then also, as you're rising up in your career, you have that home field that is
Hmm.
supporting you and supports your work. And it's always great when you know people who are near where you grew up who want to play your work just because you know them and they know you and you're from the area. So
Totally.
wherever you are around the country, if you're a filmmaker, don't sleep on your hometown local film festival, because that's cool. That's the fun stuff, just to
Yeah.
share movies with people from where you grew up,
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, my hometown local film festival is kind of bougie, so I have yet to get into that one. Um, anyway, okay, so Zach, I am submitting my films on FilmFreeway. What do I need to keep in mind?
Yeah, so it's there's so many nuances to this, because every festival programs different stuff, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
festival is looking for something different. Every festival has a vibe that they go for, that is one festival will play one movie, one festival won't play another movie. and
Right,
and, and so you kind of want to just consider those programming choices into your strategy. This
right.
is not to say that you shouldn't submit to the festivals that are your dream reach festivals, but you should consider if it's the type of if your film is the type of thing that has played there in the past. When I was at Columbia, I spent a semester on the programming committee for the Columbia Film Festival, which is the big thesis project event at Lincoln Center every year in New York. And we spent the semester studying film festival strategy and programming tactics from Sundance, from Toronto, and we talked to programmers, and they gave us advice. And it's like every festival is just has a different mission with their programming criteria, and so
Mm,
you want to just consider that. If you're like, I do comedy, not every film
yeah.
festival is like, yeah, we love big broad stroke comedy.
Yeah.
That's not a thing for some festivals out there. And so I
Like,
need
you're
to.
not gonna get into Cannes, you know?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. No, 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 no. Like but I know that, right? Like I know I'm not making the types of films that are going to premiere at Telluride or
Mhm.
or can, but
Yeah.
friends of mine make movies that are perfect for those types of festivals and have played those festivals. And so it's important to just know, A, who you are as a filmmaker, B, who your audience is for your film, and try to factor those decisions into your festival, into your strategy, because what
Mhm.
Tribeca is going to program is very different than what Sundance is going to program, and what South by is going to program is very different than what Berlin is going to program. And so you can just do your research on the programming decisions these festivals have made in the past. And what I like to do is I like to just see who the winners were.
Mhm.
I'll go on the festival's page, especially if it's a festival I'm not familiar with, and I'm thinking about submitting. It's in a region that I don't have a screening at yet, so I could premiere in that region, and I think it could be a good fit. But I'll go on their awards page from the last 5 or so years, and if I don't see a film like mine anywhere in their awards section,
Yeah.
maybe I save that $70 and submit it to another festival in the same region that could be as cool,
Right,
Um,
right.
and
Yeah, and
because
I do the same thing, but um I also look at not just winners, but, like, official selections in the
yeah,
category of my film to see, like, because maybe I'm like, "Okay, maybe it's not part of my strategy to necessarily win the awards," and it's more like, I'm like, "I just wanna be in this film festival." You can still look at, like, "Okay, well, what are the types of films that they accepted in this category, and do I
exactly.
stack up?"
Exactly. It's way more work to look at the official selections list than the
It
winners
is.
list. But I mean, you're totally right. Like, I'm not saying the goal isn't to win the festival. The goal is to play the festival. But
Right, right.
I find the award winners category, just that list. A, it's shorter, and
Yes.
I'm lazy. But that to me is a cross section of, this is what the programmers are looking for,
Mhm.
is this. And so if I don't see even an inkling of my film in there, then I know maybe this isn't for me. But if there's a film that, like, oh, okay, I like that log line, that picture looks very colorful, then I'll go through the official selections and see, oh, okay, this festival does program comedy. Or,
Mhm.
oh, if I'm a genre horror filmmaker, or a sci-fi or a fantasy, I want to know if this is a very drama indie darling festival, or a fun audience genre heavy festival, because those are
Right.
two very different events,
Mhm.
and I want to know which one I'm submitting to. So
Yeah.
that that's kind of all part of how you, especially once you get into the weeds of your festival strategy, where you have a list, you have your tent poles, you have your big Oscar qualifiers, and now you're down towards the end of your budget, and you have to decide, am I submitting to this or am I submitting to this,
Right.
right? And if you're
Yeah.
trying to decide between two festivals in the same media market, um, and you can't play both at the same time because they both want premieres in that city's area, are we
Mhm.
going to, like, Austin's a great example, because you have South by and Austin in the same region, and both festivals want Austin premieres, or even Texas premieres. So
Right, right, yeah.
which, if I have to choose
Which
between
one are you
South
gonna
by and
choose?
Austin, which one am I going to choose? Because then I can't play the other,
Mhm.
right? Like when you're playing Pokemon, do you pick red for Beedrill, or do you pick blue for Butterfree? And those are things you have to decide. So
Totally.
it's all kind of part of it.
Yes, for sure. And I will also say, if you should definitely build this list beforehand, and you should track all your submissions, and you can get my film festival tracking spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet template that you can get if you support me on Patreon for $5 a month. So there's a link to the Patreon account down below. But just another fun tip that can be very useful to track as well. And I feel like I have a list of the top festivals in there, or maybe that's in if you subscribe to my newsletter. I'm not sure. I don't remember where it is, but I believe I have a list of like the top big film festivals as well for you that you can get either by signing up for Patreon or subscribing to my newsletter. Either one, the link is below. But
Yeah, no, and that's a great idea to have a tracker. I have like my own spreadsheet that I build out
Mhm.
for festival runs, and it tracks things like I have them ordered by event date, but I also have
Mm.
the submission deadline, the early deadline, the middle deadline, the late deadline.
Oh, wow.
When is the notification date? When is the event date?
Right, yes.
When are my
Mhm.
deliverables due if I get to that point? So all of those are super important. And then just to go back to like what festivals are cool, Film Freeway used to do this, and I don't know if it's like a choice that they're not doing it or whatever, but Movie Maker magazine every year puts out a list of 50 festivals worth the entry fee,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty
Uh-huh.
like it's on nose, like it's great. They do a fantastic job of curating that list, and the point of that list is it's not necessarily 50 Oscar qualifying festivals, but it's 50 festivals where it's worth the trip to go. So
Right.
if we were on that list on the slide above this, right, the four
Oh,
main
mm.
categories,
Yes.
it's
Going back right now. There you go.
it's not necessarily 50 of the big top tier dream premieres and 50 large reputable festivals that are Oscar qualifying. It's kind of it has some of the qualifying festivals, but it also has smaller festivals yet cool regional things that I can travel to because they know that by going to that event you're going to get cool stuff out of it.
Right.
Like I had a great experience at Catalyst Festival in Minnesota, which is strictly episodic material. They don't do films or features, but they do pilots and web series. And if I was curating that list, I would throw that festival on there because it was an amazing 5 day experience, totally off the radar of the
Yeah.
general film festival conversation. But it was an amazing, amazing time. And the people who run it are super great and super supportive. And you never know how much you're going to love an event unless you go to it. And so that's why I
Right.
can't
Yeah.
stress enough the importance of submitting to festivals that you are able to go to, not necessarily submitting to the top premier ones in the world, but like ones that you're going to get a good experience out of.
Yes, for sure. And you were talking about we're also talking about, researching previous year winners, but I feel like you could also take that a step further and you could go to film festivals before you submit and
Yeah,
really like then you can build relationships with those people who are programming and running the show. And you can also in person see the films and be like, okay, this is sort of the vibe of this film festival. And you can know and collect that data basically.
absolutely. On
Yeah.
I guess it's the next slide because I was gonna talk about it and then I noticed it was right on the next slide.
Oh,
On filters,
yes.
yeah,
There.
like read the reviews because Film Freeway lets you
Mm,
post reviews of the festival, and typically people will have pictures that they've taken, and you'll see how many years the festival has been running, and you'll kind of get you can tell if the festival's terrible.
right.
Like you can tell
Yeah.
if it's not great if it's been running for a year and no one replied, or if it's been
Mm,
out for 10 years and the reviews aren't great. So that
right.
that it has like the fact that Film Freeway has a Yelp comment section for film festivals is dangerous, but it's awesome because it's very honest. And I
Is
think
it?
that
I've been wondering how honest it is and how honest filmmakers are, you know?
I've noticed like I don't think you're gonna get people saying this is crap, right? Like you're
Mhm.
not gonna have people saying this is terrible. But if there aren't many reviews on a festival that should have a lot or that's been around for a while, that's like you can read
Yeah.
between the lines of it all.
Mhm.
If you look at the pictures and it just doesn't look like a cool event. I don't know. I'm not trying to shame festivals that haven't been around long and are still building up their PR and their press side of things, but
Mhm.
for festivals that have been around for a while and aren't putting resources into these kind of things, it's not great, So
Right.
as a filmmaker, and sometimes you don't know this until you go there and you have a terrible time.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
that's that's also kind of part of it. But
That was kind of why I mentioned that, because I've had the experience where a festival had good reviews and then I had a terrible experience with them, and I was like, are these real? Are people afraid to put real reviews here? And I didn't put a real review either because I was just like, I don't know, I don't know how that looks on me as a film, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not sure.
yeah, and that just kind of it comes with experience, right? Like the more
Yeah.
festivals you do, you kind of know what to look out for, right?
Mhm.
Like you begin to know what a festival should be doing, what a festival shouldn't be doing,
Right.
what kind of events are beneficial to filmmakers, what kind of events are just benefiting the festival organizers. Because there are festivals out there that are totally into supporting the filmmaker and supporting the creators and giving them the experience. And there's other festivals that they do it because they want that, like the festival owner or programmer wants to play their own films, and that's not fun.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I've played at both of those. So a
Yeah.
lot of this just comes from experience of the more festivals you do, especially if you're in college and you can just start playing local film festivals in your area. That's great.
Right.
And even if
Yeah.
you're further along and out of school, just start going to festivals, and even if you don't screen at them, just go, because you'll begin to see which festivals are well run and which ones aren't.
Right. Yeah, and so I have an example up here. This is a horror film festival in Italy, and they have been running for 5 years. And you can see here are their reviews, and there's only 5 reviews. So it's kind of like what Zach was saying is like, there's only 5 reviews, and all 5 reviews are giving them full 5 stars, which to me sounds like these might be their friends, maybe. Uh, and you said something also really important about the photos. I always go and check the photos. There's a photo section for each one. And we'll get into red flags later, but a red flag for me personally is when the photos look like they're stock photos, or they're photos that are like, here's a close up of a trophy, or, like you can't actually see the scope of the film festival.
Right.
Those are the ones that I would run from, because that tells me that like they're trying to hide the fact that they aren't very big, is what that tells me.
Yeah, I have a lot of festival red flags, and I know there's a
Yes.
whole section on that. But
Yes.
but yeah,
Let's see.
but again, like these are things that you don't know to look for them until you experience them. And even if you're watching
Mhm.
this now, you could listen to everything that we're talking about, but it isn't until you go to a festival and experience both a really good festival and a really bad festival, until you like that's when you kind of take the red pill, and it clicks, right?
Yes,
Until then, you don't it's like the unknown, but once you experience the good and the bad, you all of this will kind of begin to make more sense.
totally, totally. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So the next slide is all about the fees,
Fees, yeah,
which
this
do add up.
so honestly, I'm thinking back to that Twitter thread. I
Yes,
think I think what triggered me
was
on
the
on
fees.
Twitter. Well, no, it's because I've been a filmmaker. I got into this industry to be a filmmaker, but when the pandemic hit, I began to focus a little more on writing, because that's all
You
we
could
could
do
do.
that.
Production's
Yeah.
not happening anymore, so I fell into screenwriting Twitter really when the pandemic started. I mean, that's when all of screenwriting Twitter kind of started, but I feel
Oh,
like I
interesting.
kind of began to really play around in that ballpark for a little bit. But I noticed a common complaint on screenwriting Twitter are festivals or competition submission fees, and the
Mm.
idea that, oh, they're just trying to make money off of us, and I have to pay $20 to submit my script. And in the back of my head, I'm like, you haven't submitted to a festival, have you? Because this is like $100 for my 5-minute film.
Yes. Yeah.
And that might have been something that I think snapped in my brain. I'm like, okay, we got to talk about this. But it's what it is. I mean, the event has to charge fees. It's Stuff costs
Mhm.
money. They're putting on an awesome event. If you want the event with the good hospitality, pay the money. Don't complain about it. It's part of the game. That
Yeah.
said, there's ways to navigate not having to pay as much, and there's part of the game on your end is to be prepared and do your job as the filmmaker, so that way you're not spending $100, and in this case, you're only spending $63. So,
Mhm.
first of all, I would say always, always, always submit for the early deadline.
Right.
Always,
Yeah.
um, because that's
Saving
the
you money.
that's saving you money, which is great. B, that's the first wave of submissions for the festival that are going to come in. Those are the first entries that are going to be viewed by the programmers. Potentially, sometimes they shuffle it up and they run it through the blender. Other times it's kind of a rolling thing and they screen them as they come in. It never hurts to be the first one in the door,
Mm,
right?
okay.
It only hurts to be last. So
Gotcha.
if especially if it's a festival that you really, really want to play, do your best to be there by the early deadline, because it will never hurt your chance. Like, it's not a bad thing ever to be there early, but you never know if a festival programmer is just going to take a peek at who submitted for the early deadline first, because they'll have
Mhm.
them for like 2 weeks before the regular deadline comes in.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So,
And they
uh,
might start programming stuff, so they might run out of room. So if you submit last, they might really like your film, but maybe they only have a 5-minute spot left, right?
exactly, and especially for your late deadlines, depending on the programming process, again, some festivals wait until the late deadline, then it's strictly a financial thing. It's
Mm,
strictly just a money thing. But other festivals will start programming sooner than your late deadline. And like you said, if they're putting a block together, maybe they have this program curated, and maybe they have a 12-minute slot, but they already have a documentary, or they already have a niche indie drama with a celebrity actor, and they don't want another one. And or maybe they
right.
already have a special interest story of a very specific demographic, and so, like, you never know, but they might already have that thing they're looking for, and your film might be incredible, but they're not going to blow up their entire programming block because your film came in late.
Right.
They're just going to not program your film. So,
Yeah.
the late deadlines, avoid at all costs, just because it'll save you money. Official deadline should be the latest you should ever be submitting to a festival.
Gotcha.
I'll
Great.
I'll never submit to a late deadline. For me, I'm always aiming for early, and then if I'm genuinely not ready, I won't submit too early. I'll submit to the official. But
Gotcha.
if I know the festival programmer, I'll let them know, like, hey, I'm submitting late, and
Mhm.
maybe that they'll give me a look. You know.
So I have a question that kind of ties into something that we talked about earlier and this, but as far as deadlines go, we were talking about how premiere status is so important if you're doing a feature, and it's less important if you're doing a short. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, if you miss, like, let's just say Sundance, if you miss the Sundance deadline, because you were still working on your film and it wasn't ready or whatever, if you have a short, is it still worth it to apply next year? Because you have, just so everyone knows, you have an 18-month block from when you finish the finish date. Make sure that you plan that finish date accordingly because you have a timer that starts from that moment on. You have 18 months to submit to film festivals. There are film festivals that don't care, but like most of the big ones do. So I'm wondering, if you're a short and you missed one of the big ones because you were still working on it, can you still apply later, or do you think they're less likely to program you because you already got into other film festivals and you're still not the premiere?
With a short film, I wouldn't care about this as much. Like,
Okay,
if a short film is good, it's going to play somewhere, right?
gotcha. Okay.
And premiere status for a short film is not important. If
Yeah.
it's a feature film, and you know that your film is a Toronto, like, a darling, and Toronto's your dream, wait a calendar year for Toronto. Don't
Mm,
submit elsewhere. For a short film, though, why wait? Why sit
yeah.
on it? Unless you know for a fact that it's going to play at a festival, which you don't, and you never will.
Mhm.
It's not worth it. Premiere elsewhere. Go. There's 90 festivals on the Oscar qualifying list. If you win any of those, that's gravy. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't blow up your timeline for I wouldn't sit on a short film for a year just because you missed a deadline.
Gotcha.
Go play somewhere else. And then if it's still playing by the time that festival comes around, they'll play it because
Okay. Yeah.
everyone wants to play the good short film.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
Sundance is a weird example because going through the calendar year, you're getting like the Oscar season is over.
Mm.
So, and Sundance is the next year's thing. So
Oscar.
that
Mm.
festival in particular, I don't think is a good example because they want world premieres, but
Gotcha.
Aspen's another one. Aspen won't play a film that's played anywhere before. So outside, there's
Um,
a couple short festivals are that you're again. This is your high tier ones. Yeah, Sundance, Aspen. Those are the two that I'm thinking of in general. But though some festivals you can't play anywhere. But
gotcha. Yeah.
for most of them, for shorts, just submit everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
everywhere within budgetary means.
Well, that's great advice. I love that. And we just got a new person join in the chat. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Rayon Roy. I apologize if pronounced your name wrong. And also, Lockpicking Engineer joined us earlier. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And again, just a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will get to those too. But we talked about this briefly before, but there is a gold member. Like it's like a
Gold
subscription.
member. Yeah, it's like a $12 a month thing. I if you're submitting to 40 festivals at once,
Yeah, then get it.
which is I did that for Everything's Fine. I did that for Canusa Street because I kind of just went through the list and like I want to go here, 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 and here. Then yes, you'll save about $10 on average, about $8 to $10 per submission, and that adds up because
Yes.
all of that's coming out of your budget anyway. So save the money. It's like $12 a month or something.
Mhm.
But if you're on the back half of your festival journey and you're kind of just like throwing them in your cart as they pop up because oh that's a cool one, oh I could play there, oh I thought my festival was dead but Kevin Smith is doing a festival in my backyard and I want to submit to
Yeah,
it, then
totally.
don't do gold. Then just you know because
Because then you're
because
gonna pay more
you're
because
going to
it's
pay
a
more.
subscription.
Right.
Mhm.
That's there so you can save. That's the Costco membership, so you can buy in bulk. You know.
Yes, totally. And again, this is also why having a film festival tracker like spreadsheet is so important because, like Zach said, those fees can add up quickly, especially if you are sort of like going willy nilly and being like, well, this one looks cool. I'm just going to submit to that. And next thing you know, you've spent thousands of dollars. And I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. I usually spend thousands of dollars per festival or per film when I'm submitting. So it's like, it adds up quick. So being sure that you can track it. And another great way to like help manage fees is if you're the director on the project and you have a producer, maybe you partner with a producer and you guys split those festival fees or, whatever strategy you have. Maybe you have a whole team of people and you guys all want to split the fees. That can help too. And then you can submit to a lot more. That's my
Yeah.
little tip.
I'm looking up just Everything's Fine, my festival tracker from the from Everything's Fine, and I just want to see what my final budget was, and I realized about partway through I stopped adding the price because it was the back half again. But with the festivals that are listed the price, I spent over $2,000 on
Wow,
on that on that film. So yeah, I mean it adds up for sure.
for sure. Yeah. Um, uh, Rayanne says he wants to submit to festivals that have a Best Actor award because that's what he wants to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Go for it. That's awesome. And most festivals do have that. So, if they don't, that's kind of strange.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
So totally. I mean, that's great. By all means,
Yeah.
submit away. Okay, and
Oh,
that's also the fun part is to get an award for your work. That's not why
for
we do
sure.
this, but that's a fun byproduct of a film festival.
It is very fun. Yeah. And it feels, especially when making movies are hard. You put a lot of work and time and energy into it. And even if it's like, you know, some of the awards I've won are just like a printed out award, but it's still, I'm like, I still feel really special for getting that.
Oh yeah.
So,
But the
yeah.
other festivals do cool things like present
Mhm.
hand blown glass sculptures, which is
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
like again, Catalyst Festival in Minnesota, their awards are these beautiful hand blown glass things. The
Wow.
Westchester Film Festival in Westchester, Pennsylvania, their Chesty Awards are again these very elegant glass like balls, and festivals have cool trophies, you know? So
Yeah.
it's the hardware is really cool, especially if it's a festival again where they're prioritizing the artist experience at the festival. It's always, I
Mhm.
mean, it's amazing to go home with something, you know?
Yeah, and that's another place to, like, if you check the photos, a lot of times if they have cool awards, they will have photos of those awards, so that's very cool. Okay, so Zach, I've got my list.
Yeah.
I of how many of all these festivals, but how many should I submit to is the question.
So I would say submit to what you have the budget to submit to, and then the catch 22 of that is you should budget to submit to a lot. So again, I'm looking up everything's fine right now just to see what we submitted to 75 film festivals
Wow,
over the
that's a
course of
lot.
our run. We got into maybe a third of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, approximately a third. We were like running a 33% acceptance rate.
Right,
So, and that's not to say that every film will have the same percentage. That's just kind of how we did on that project.
right,
And I'm glad I submitted to 75 because that means we got to play about 25, which was really cool. Um, if you submit to 10, you'll maybe get into 10, you might get into 2. And so
right.
that's
Mhm.
kind of where budgeting for submissions is an important part of your pre-production process. You know, like like that's when you're fundraising for your project, fundraise and include festival submissions as a line item in your, you
Budget,
know, your post budget and your P&A budget.
for sure. Yeah.
Because again, it's like you don't just want to submit to everything because that's a waste, because like we talked about before, some festivals are never going to play your film no matter how good it is, because it's just
Right.
not the type of film that they play there. And then at the same time, you also want to make sure that you're not submitting to a festival if you know you're not able to go there. You don't want to submit to a festival if it's in the same media market as another film festival that you also want to play at in the same calendar year, because they won't cross programming. So
Mhm.
those are all, you know, you again, it's all kind of different elements of your building your calendar and your strategy. But I think
Right.
budget's an important factor for it for sure.
Yeah, and I think also, it depends on what your film festival strategy is too, because, maybe, for example, on the screen here, um, I'm showing my film Zombie Debt, which I submitted to 34 submissions and we got into 18. And so that was actually a
That's
selection
great.
rate of, yeah, 53%. And that was because I went in very much with the mindset of I want to be accepted. I wanna have a high rate of acceptance, and so I'm not submitting Zombie Debt is a micro short horror comedy. I'm not submitting it to Sundance. I went after the very niche film festivals that had micro horror comedy sections
Yes.
because I was like, "I will be programmed in these film festivals because that is exactly what I have." And that strategy really worked for me, and I just used the search bar and I typed in micro horror comedy and found a bunch of film festivals that had those categories. And so that's why that film has a really high, acceptance rate. And then Joining Call is the other film I have up here, is a film I made during the pandemic. I didn't submit to as many film festivals because that's basically a Zoom call movie that we all made during the pandemic because we were desperate.
Yeah,
um,
I made one of those too.
Yes. And by the time I made it and got it out, people were already tired of the Zoom movies. And so I was like, I'm going to cut my losses and we're just going to do 17 on that one. So, it just depends on what your strategy is and what your film is, I'd say. But keeping all that in mind, like Zach said from the beginning, is really important. Like joining call, I didn't make it thinking like, oh, I have to do a film festival run. In fact, I made it and we released it online immediately
Yeah.
before even doing festivals, which then cut us out of a lot of film festivals. But I knew that this was a movie about what we were all experiencing right now, and it couldn't wait 18 months. It wouldn't be relevant anymore. And so
Oh,
I just had to release it right away.
100%. And that's something I don't even know if we plan to talk about, but the
Mm.
when do you do your online premiere in relation to
No, yeah,
when
we
your
don't
film
have
festival
that.
is happening? But depending on the film, I think it's awesome that you released that before you even did festivals, because that's a piece that's the internet piece, right? Like that's not
Right,
the kind
right,
you don't necessarily need to be precious with the world premiere for that, because that film is designed to be enjoyed in mass. And
right.
I think like every film there, you're going to reach a point on your project where you have that transition point in your festival calendar from your big networking industry wide festivals. And then when you shift into your hyper locals, somewhere in there you should have your online premiere, because at that point your film's online status isn't going to affect the rest of your festival calendar. So
Right.
for joining call, since you knew that your online status wasn't going to affect any of your festival submissions, that's awesome, because then you can just
Mhm.
get it up there and just start the buzz on that project. And that, you don't know if, because then someone who's a festival programmer for something a couple months from now can see that and be like, hey, Ash, can I play your movie? I found it online and I would love to program it in my festival. Which it happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I've even had that when I've gone to other film festivals. There's festival directors there that are like, "I saw your movie, you should submit it to mine." And
Yep.
then I've gotten into their film festival. So for sure. Yeah. Um and the last point on this slide is you can see your stats on your dashboard. And so let me just show you guys what that looks like. If I go to dashboard. So there's you're right over there, Zach.
Yeah, I knocked my salad over. We're okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
good.
no.
It was empty, but there was one
Oh,
little
good.
piece of lettuce that flew over there, so we're
Well,
good.
don't forget about it. Well, so you have a dashboard here as well, on Film Freeway, and here it'll show you your notifications, dates that are approaching. So, my short film, The Roundtable, got into the Cambria Film Festival, and so it's showing me that, hey, just so you know, that's there's a notification date approaching here. And then there's submissions, and this is really cool too because it'll show you this cool like submissions map, so you can see like if you do start submitting internationally, it's kind of exciting, right, to see this like fill up and see, oh, my film's played in all these different countries. And then down at the bottom here is where you can see your projects and see your total submissions and your selection rate and whatnot. And so that gives you an idea. This is kind of a bad example because I have two things that are like specific to 2 projects that I created for, like, grant or director programs, so ignore those. But, you can see with the round table submitted to 25 film festivals. It got into 8, and so that was a 32% selection rate. So it's kind of a cool thing. I honestly didn't know about the dashboard until recently, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, yeah, it's just a neat tool. Again, all these analytics are they're helpful tools.
Mhm.
And just seeing your selection rate and the map of what countries your film has played in. If you're a drama artist and you're a drama filmmaker, Europe and all over the world, drama and pain is universal. So those play a little better in international markets potentially than a slapstick comedy would. But it's cool to see all of these different data points can all affect and help you as a creator in terms of where to send to next.
Totally, for sure. Rayan asks, should I avoid submitting to big festivals first? So we kind of covered that earlier, I think, before you joined. But I'll just go back to that slide really quick for you. But there's basically bloop, bloop, bloop. There's four main film festival categories, and Zach talked about how you want your big top tier dream premieres first, and so you do want to apply to those first because a lot of film festivals kind of care about your film being a premiere, like a world premiere or a local premiere. And then Rayan also asked, but is it fine to submit internationally? As Zach said, don't submit to film festivals you can't go to. Ding, ding, ding. He's got you there.
Yeah. I realize I speak facetiously sometimes. But look, I mean, if there you know you could send a film to an international, and this is my personal opinion, I am not an expert, but this is I wouldn't spend the money on playing a festival I wouldn't plan on attending to
Mm,
if I got accepted, because like if I submitted a film to London and it got into Rain Dance or BAFTA or whatever. I'm not British, so I wouldn't get into BAFTA, but you know what I mean. If I sent a
right.
film there, I would go, and I would only submit a film there if I was expecting to potentially be able to buy a plane ticket to go. But
Right.
that's me. I know there are some festivals you just physically can't go to because you can't, and that happens.
Mhm.
But I try to prioritize in my personal strategy films that I know if I were to get programmed there, I could potentially find a way to go, because
Right.
that's the benefit of the festival. Like, the laurel means nothing if you don't go and make an experience out of that.
Right. And network. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really especially if you are doing short films, that honestly, the reason you're making short films is to go to a film festival and network. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
That's why you're doing it, and you're trying to get hired to make more films. So you're selling yourself, and that's why it's so important to go to the film festival. And then on the other hand, if you're making features, it's important to go to the film festival because you might sell your feature to a distributor at the film festival. So those are
Yes.
all the reasons why you want to attend.
1,000,000%. I mean, my project Canusa Street right now, which is a TV pilot, this is the first not short film of mine that I'm doing the festival circuit with. So this is the first time I'm submitting something in a potentially marketable field,
World. Yeah.
world, yeah, universe. But I mean, when I was a college student at Rutgers, I would submit to like film festivals in New York City and around New Jersey all the time. And one of my first film festivals ever was the Big Apple Film Festival in New York City. And I met people there as a college freshman who hired me as a PA for their next project. And we stay in
Ooh,
touch. We talk all the time. And he's been a great mentor of mine, and is always kind of looking out for me and checking in, and that was a great relationship to make at 18 years old,
yeah.
because I submitted a project to a festival and I met someone there and they hired me to come on their film. So it is such a crucial networking opportunity, especially for, I don't want to say younger, but greener filmmakers who, maybe this is their first film and this is your first time doing the festival circuit. You do it to meet people, and you do it to
Mhm.
connect with people. And there are people I've met at festivals all around the world who I keep in touch with, and some of my really close friends and collaborators we met at festivals also. So, that's the community aspect of it, that as a filmmaker, you talk about networking up, but you also need to network out to your
Right.
peers, and
Mhm.
that's almost more important than having the 15 minutes with John Cho at the corner of whatever festival you bump into him at.
Right? Because if you don't have the team to support you to make the thing that you pitched him, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Right.
that you pitched him. Um, and oh gosh, there was something else I was gonna say because everything you said was so good. I can't remember now. Oh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say no, 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 it's good. The other thing I will say is I've definitely had situations where I can't make it to the film festival, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Look into number one, film festivals. A lot of film festivals offer virtual options now, which is really great too. So, like the Gen Con Film Festival does an amazing job of that. They have a Discord channel. They do virtual panels with filmmakers, and I've met lots of filmmakers that way. And then the other thing I was going to say is if you can't make it, see if someone from your crew can, because maybe someone from your crew can go and represent you and make those networking, contacts for you.
Yeah, I played the Fort Myers Beach Film Festival with Everything's Fine, which was the same weekend as New Hope Film Festival in
Oh.
New. I don't know. There were two festivals, and one was in the tri-state area, and one was in Florida. And so, I went to one, and then my film's composer or co-composer just happened to be on a vacation in Florida that weekend, and so I gave him my filmmaker badge, and him and his wife went and represented the film there. And so, uh, if you can get cast or crew or somebody, producer, to be at your film as a proxy. And this is actually funny. My producer on Canusa Street went to, pretty sure it was Holly Shorts, because a friend of ours from Columbia Film School, her film was in the festival, and
Mm.
she couldn't make the award ceremony. So
Oh.
he went in her place to the award ceremony to just represent the project. The film ended up winning best female filmmaker, and so that was an awkward
And then
situation. And then he
he
walks up on
accepted.
stage.
Oh no.
But regardless, like, the idea of having someone to represent your film at the festival, even if you can't be there yourself, that's super important, because if you
Yeah.
win an award, walk up. Just having a presence at the event is vital to,
Mhm.
like, if you're not there, your film might as well not be at the festival if no one is going to be there to say hi. Yes, I'm part of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I had a very similar situation where I got into a film festival. Two of the actresses happened to already be going to the film festival because they had a film in the film festival already. And I didn't even know that we were going to get an award. And thankfully, they were there to accept an award on my behalf because we randomly won an award. And so it's definitely good to have that. Um, all right, let's see what the next slide is. Oh, researching film festivals. Okay, I think we kind
We
of covered
we kind of
this.
talked about
Yeah.
this. I just want to give a shout out to Tyler March, who was an old friend of mine from when we were kids, and then we kind of lost touch for several years, and then we reconnected at the Monmouth Film Festival in Monmouth, New Jersey. And
Oh,
this is us saying, "Hey, it's been 10 years,"
wow,
and
that's
it was really great.
amazing. That's great. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered this. And as we just said, if you get accepted, can your cast or crew afford to go as well? That can be important too. I've had filmmaker friends where, their film gets in and the actress is nominated for best actress. And,
Yeah,
can they afford to go to that as well? All right.
and if can they afford to go? What's the budget that your film has to travel out actors or producers, especially executive producers? Like, that's kind of all part of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and Rand's asking how to research questions 1 and 2. We covered that earlier. So save the link, the
Watch this later.
yeah, watch this later.
Yeah,
Save the URL somewhere, copy paste it, and rewatch it later. We answered all those questions for you. And also, this is the 50 films
yes,
worth entering thing. I believe I put a link to that in the description below as well. But we already covered this as well, the 50 films
yeah.
that are
This is
or film festivals.
it's a great list. They do a great job. It's Movie Maker magazine publishes this, and they're fantastic. And their criterion for what they use to put this list together is pretty great. So I trust their list immensely, and you should
Yeah.
too.
Okay, now we are on to, I'm very excited because
Yes,
we're on to the
it's
red flags.
my favorite part.
Yes. And one of my favorite parts was in your like little thread. You had like the little red flag emojis, which was so great. So Zach, tell us, what are red flags to look out for when we're submitting to a film
Yes.
festival?
Oh man. Like I said, this is coming from having done film festivals for many years now, and you don't notice these things at first, but when you notice them, you can't ever unnotice them. It's
Mm.
like Smile. Like, once you see it, it's over. And
Yeah.
so The first one, and this grinds my ever loving gears, when a festival charges a submission fee for separate award categories. That is
This one's interesting. I'm glad that you put this down because I have seen that and I have submitted to those film festivals and I've never submitted to those categories, but I've always been like, should I? Am I supposed to?
no, you should never. Is absolute bullshit.
Okay.
And because the fee is, it's not a pay to play to be eligible for an award. You're submitting your film for the work that goes into processing your film's ability to screen at the festival, right?
Mhm.
That you're paying so festival programmers can sit and watch it, so the people who run the festival can organize it and put out the promotion, so the projectionist can plug it into the machine. That's what your festival fee is going for. What it's
Mm.
not going for is your ability to win an award. And it drives me up the wall when I see festivals basically like bait gullible and green and rookie filmmakers into thinking they need to spend an extra $70 to be eligible for the best actor award that our friend watching wants to be potentially in the nomination for. So
Right.
that's dumb. The film's
Mhm.
already submitted. You don't charge someone to be eligible for an award. I hate that so much. Um, because all of these, the common thread for all of these things is these are shitty festival tactics that are used because they know people are going to do it. They are a smaller festival that they don't get enough submission fees, so they know they need to do shit like this. Or
Mm.
it's like it's run by people who are not doing it for the filmmakers. They're doing it to make money as a business,
Right.
right? So
Mhm. Which
all
is a
these,
thing.
it's totally a thing. And I get that events have operating costs and events have employees, and that's fine. Again, we already said festival fees are part of the game. That's fine. But when you do these things like charge someone to be eligible for best cinematography, to be eligible for best director, to be eligible for best comedy, that's insane.
Yeah.
The one caveat I'll give is I've seen it sometimes and it's totally shitty. I've seen it a couple other times and just based off the grammar and the copy in the page,
Mhm.
sometimes it almost reads as if the person didn't know how Film Freeway works when they were building their
Right.
festival. Like so I'm not saying it's nefarious every single time, but
Right.
most times it's a red flag.
Right.
Um, the
How do you feel about festivals that, um, also want to charge you, like, I've heard of festivals that want to then charge you screening fees to screen your film, and festivals I know, right? And
No, 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 no.
festivals that want to charge you, to attend the award ceremony. I've had that happen to me before as
So
well.
I've seen that.
Okay.
I've seen tickets sold for the award ceremony. Sometimes they rent out a nice place, right?
Mm,
Like
mhm.
sometimes they're renting out a banquet hall. Sometimes it just is bougie for the sake of bouginess. There's a certain film festival that's near and dear to my heart that does this, and I won't call them out here, but they know who they are, and I think it's insane that they charge $200 for the awards gala banquet. Um,
Yes, I had a very similar experience where I think it was like 100 or 150 that they wanted to charge us, and we're like, "No, thanks," and
yeah.
surprisingly, we still won, but none of us were there to, like, accept the award. Um
Yeah, and again, I like depending on the location and the city and the type of venue. I get that there are costs involved. So
Mhm.
the award ceremony, that is I can give a pass on that.
Okay.
What they should do is they should comp your ticket and then you can buy extra tickets, right? Like that.
Mm. Mhm.
Every
Right, yeah.
filmmaker should get one at the very least one, if not two, comped tickets to every event. Just
Right.
period. Um, if
They
I could
usually
wave a
call it a filmmaker pass. They'll
yeah,
give you a filmmaker
if I could
pass.
wave a magic wand, and every film festival should do that. But so I'll give a pass in certain situations to the awards gala charging tickets, but a screening fee, no,
Mm, mhm.
never play at that festival ever again. They
Okay.
can yeah, no, that is
Yeah.
atrociously insulting.
Luckily,
Um,
that hasn't happened to me, that's happened to a friend of mine who
oh my
also the
god,
same festival wanted her to also sell X amount of tickets.
I'm like,
Yes.
I'm losing it. I hate it. I hate it so much. That sucks.
Uh-huh.
That is so wrong. I need the details after this
I
because
will, yeah,
yeah.
I'll have
Um,
to look up what
yeah, no,
that.
that's terrible. And then I think the other thing I've seen this at a couple festivals where if there's a side category that's sponsored by a sponsor and it's maybe an extra $5 or something like if you it's like you're submitting this, oh, and do you also want to be considered for this like sidebar award that's a very specific niche thing for
Mm,
specific directors from this state or for consideration for a scholarship to be or mentorship program or to be read by this, so there's those kind of things. Fine, right?
right.
If it's an extra $5 $10 for a single specific side thing, sure,
Mhm.
that's okay. But I've seen festivals where it's like best director, best actor, best cinematographer, best editing,
Right.
best music, and you
Mhm.
have to like to be eligible. I have to pay $45 for each of these categories.
As
No,
well as submit. I think
as
you
well
also have, yeah.
on top of
Mhm.
the submission fee. That's insane.
Yeah.
So that's one of my biggest pet peeves in general about
Mhm.
Film Freeway. My second, and this kind of goes back to the without a box situation.
Yes.
Um, festivals festivals that claim they are an IMDb qualifying festival. To unpack this for people who never had to deal with Without a Box, which was an Amazon platform, where again,
Was it
Amazon,
really Amazon? I
yeah,
didn't
because
know that.
Amazon
Oh.
also owns IMDb and it was all one, it's all one computer
Oh.
system, which is why when you submitted through Without a Box and your film got accepted to a festival, it automatically generated an IMDb page for your film
Mm.
because
Mhm.
it's all the same computer system. That's how I got my IMDb page because my short film from 2009 played at a festival and poof, it existed now. So
Yes.
and so that's just how the system worked back then,
Mhm.
when it was Without a Box. And now that Film Freeway has taken over, they're not an Amazon company, so that automatic like connection to IMDb isn't there.
Right.
That said, IMDb is Wikipedia. You can go make your page. Go make it right now. Stop watching this and go make your IMDb page. Like you can do that. But not many people know you can do that. And so, what festivals, especially greener festivals, festivals that are trying to attract younger filmmakers who don't know any better, they advertise that their festival is an IMDb qualifying festival, which
Mhm.
doesn't mean anything
No.
because your film is already eligible to qualify for IMDb because I can go create the page right now. So
Yes.
when I see that, it's telling me specifically that the festival is either A, brand new and they don't have enough submission fees. So they're trying to attract younger, greener filmmakers who don't know any better.
Mhm.
B, it's run by someone who doesn't understand the film industry, which is insane because why would you go to a festival run by someone who doesn't know why their festival should exist?
Mhm.
And three, it just shows that it's not you just shouldn't submit to that festival. It's just not a good festival because it instantly just lowers the quality the expectation of quality immediately drops whenever I see that because I know that just you can't take that seriously because
Right.
that's
Yeah.
like saying that's like saying, oh, I can't even think of an example.
Twitter qualified.
Yeah,
If you
no, it's like saying, oh, you can pay $8 to buy your blue check mark.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
It's dumb. Like, oh, you have to earn the right to pay us $8 and you can have this thing. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just it's silly, and I just it drives me nuts because again, it's coming from a place of not supporting the filmmaker for success. It's coming
Right.
from the motive is elsewhere. Whether it's money, whether it's ego, whether it's whatever, that festival is not looking out for the filmmaker because it's advertising something that makes no sense. And
Yes,
yet
for
they
sure.
think it's something that filmmakers want to see.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Because, I mean, when you don't have anything on IMDb, it is very intimidating.
oh yeah.
And even when you if you don't have anything on there and you submit a project, because anyone can submit, you can go on there, you can submit your film. It can take a while. You know, if you don't have any projects on there and you submit your first film to IMDb, it could take months because you are low priority for them. You're going to be at the bottom of the list. So it does help, like when you get into film festivals and you're like, no, 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 it played at this film festival and you can link to that page. That's going to push you up on the list, but that doesn't mean that you can't apply whenever.
Yeah,
And some film festivals, I feel like the bigger ones, I could be wrong, but I feel like Santa Barbara actually put our film up there for us, and
sure.
they're not advertising IMDb qualifying. They were like, you're in our film festival, we're putting you on IMDb. So yeah, anyone can do it. It's
Yeah,
kind of silly.
it's a silly thing. It just, I don't know. It just shows me that there's a lack of experience or a lack of longevity with that festival that I just, I don't want to
Yeah.
play there.
I think
Um,
I think we should get you a shirt, Zach, that says IMDb qualified,
I,
just so you can wear it.
IMDb qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because then everyone can get that shirt.
Yes, exactly. All right. So number 3,
Number three,
fest
yeah,
mhm.
festivals that only accept your film or award your film if you can attend or guarantee ticket sales. I know you mentioned this, that you want to
The
sell X
ticket
amount of
sales.
tickets.
Mhm.
Insane, insanely insult. Just abort, run away, don't play it. It's dumb. Um, it's because festivals love to they do this thing where again, because it's a newer festival, it's a greener festival. Maybe this festival doesn't have the media attention, like the local reporting, newspaper, internet article attention that some of your bigger local film festivals might have.
Mm,
But they want the award winners to be in attendance so pictures can be taken for the website. So the
right.
one newspaper reporter that is there can take more pictures, so it can spin up the PR machine for not for the filmmaker, for the festival.
Right, right.
So sometimes they will say, "Oh, you're not going to be at the festival. We're not going to give you this award because we want to give it to someone who's going to be in attendance," which means they're not awarding the best films. They
Right.
are just trying to make their own festival look good, which again
Mhm.
is not in the best interest of the filmmaker. So run away anytime,
Fast.
anytime you see that, anytime, and sometimes they'll put it in their rules,
Will they
you know,
really?
I've
Oh,
seen it sometimes. Like some festivals are stupidly honest about it, and they say it up front.
wow. Oh my
But
gosh.
I've also seen it happen where you're in the festival, your screening happens again. It's a festival you can't go to, and then you get that email from the programmer saying, "Hey, we want to give you an award. Are you going to be there?" And you say no because I live in in New Jersey and your festival is in Idaho. And they
Mhm.
say, "Oh, well, in that case, we're not going to give you an award." I'm like, I'm not going to get on a plane.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to fly to your festival because of that. I'm going to never play your festival ever again because of that.
Mhm.
So I don't know, just those things suck. I hate that. And
What
especially, can you guarantee ticket sales like your friend had to deal with? Oh
yeah.
my God, we're not stand up comedians barking for our 10:30 stage
No.
time. You
Yeah.
know,
And that was a festival that charged her a screening fee for the theater and required ticket sales, which
that
she
was
was
all
like,
one. That was all
yeah,
one
that was
festival.
one film
Oh
festival.
no.
It's actually a kinda big one in LA, and she was like, "What the hell? I made a film." You know? She was like, "I that's hard enough, like, I
Yeah.
can't do all this other stuff." Um, but I'm
Oh, that.
curious, what about festivals that I've had this experience before where I get selected into the film festival and they say, you know, great, you're selected, and then they ask very early on. They're like, "Are you coming?" Like I'll find a lot of film festivals
Yeah.
ask really early on. And I said, "Well, are you going to announce award nominations?" Cuz I want to know again if it's worth me getting on the plane. And they're like, "Oh, we don't announce award nominations." Which I'm like, "What?" And so they don't announce it until the award ceremony. That's weird, right?
I there are. I've been to festivals where they don't have nominees, and
Mm,
and they don't announce nominees. They just announce the winner. Um, I, well, it's two things. One, sometimes festivals they want to know if you're coming so they can their hospitality team can be there to assist you.
Okay,
Again, like
okay.
not to keep plugging Catalyst Festival in Minnesota. It's just I'm in love with how they run their event. They had people meet us at the airport and shuttle us from the airport to the hotel, and they were
Wow.
like, "What? When's your plane coming in? Because we'll track your flight and pick you up." And so they wanted to know that we were coming. I've been to other festivals in St. Louis, the St. Louis festival. They wanted to know if we were going to be there because they just wanted to say hi and meet us, and then they wanted to introduce us to other filmmakers of our similar genre,
Oh,
and they're like, hey,
wow.
like you should talk to this person because they do comedy also. And so sometimes that's a very genuine question, and they just want to know if you're going to be there.
Okay.
um Other times, if the festival is good and kind and nice, they'll give you that hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, like, hey, you should send someone to the award ceremony tomorrow.
Mhm.
um, and that's a cool email to get because
Mhm.
sometimes they don't announce nominees.
Okay.
But yeah, other times it might be, if they're a bad festival, they'll factor your attendance into their judging, and that sucks. And there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do about it because they're just going to keep doing that. So
Yeah.
if you kind of have to do your digging to see if that's what do they use that information for,
Mhm.
which is it's terrible, and I hate that that's common practice.
Yeah. All right, we have one more red flag,
Great.
right?
Oh.
I know this one's near and dear and personal to you.
No, so this was on the Twitter thread that I did. I wrote this last red flag as a joke because there was one festival in New Jersey that notoriously did this, and
Mm,
it's like everyone knows everyone
that
knows
that's
it.
what's up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's funny because the festival I don't think even takes place in New Jersey anymore. I think they got ran out of the
Oh,
state.
wow.
They're in, like upstate New York or something. But yeah, it's just it was the festival only gave awards to the best friends of the festival director, and
Mm.
it was just funny. And then some people from the like New York City area film community knew what I was talking about, and it was a fun inside joke. But I'm not going to spill the beans
No,
on,
yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
this.
So let's move on to green flags. So what are good things to look out for?
Yeah, great things. If the festival's been running a long time, that's awesome because they know what they're doing, and
Mhm.
they have a legacy in the city, and they have a partnership with different people, and people know about the festival. I think like the Chicago Underground Film Festival is a great one, or um, Boston Film Festival has been around for like 40 years.
Oh, wow.
The Pittsburgh Film Festival. There's a bunch of festivals that have just been around forever, and
Mm.
those that are again your more kind of your smaller festivals that aren't um, super well known but have been around for a while. Here, I'm just going to look up on FilmFreeway. I'm going to browse festivals, and I'm just going to luminaries festivals that have been around for 10 plus years. San Francisco International Film Festival, Sun Valley Film Festival, Austin Revolution, California Women's Film Festival, um, all the Liftoff, LA Comedy Fest, Westchester Film Festival. And these are just the ones. Harlem Film Festival is a great one in New York City. These are just festivals that they have been doing it for so long, they know what they're doing. So
Mm.
it's going to be a well-oiled machine if the festival's been around for a long time. Festivals that screen short films in theaters is
Oh,
a
yes.
great one because I have been to festivals where the features get played at the fancy movie theater and the shorts
Mhm.
get played on a projector in the local library.
Yes. Mhm.
That sucks. That's not cool. All shorts should play either before a feature or in a block of shorts in the same theater as all the other films. If you're doing a
Right.
festival and you don't have enough theater screens, and so therefore you have to rent out like classrooms and libraries and bars to screen your shorts, don't just
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't
It's not
accept
a
so
good
many films.
experience for anybody, you know? It sucks.
Yeah, and because if you're a festival that accepts 2,000 films, that's not special. Like
Right.
that doesn't mean anything if you're a festival that plays 7 times throughout the year and accepts everybody. Like, come on, that's dumb. So
Yeah.
don't, go submit to festivals if the short films play in a movie theater, because that's great. You
Yeah.
want to hear your short in 5.1 surround sound.
And I wanted to shout out, the Santa Barbara International Film Festival is
Yeah,
great with this. They totally use, all the local movie theaters, and they do blocks for shorts, and they also have a local filmmaker section that I have played in before. And what I think is really awesome is they could have put us in, the small movie theater down the street. And instead, they play the local films in the Arlington Theater, which, if you've ever
yeah.
been to Santa Barbara, is just an amazing, huge theater that's like from the 50s, that's like super awesome. And so it's really cool when they actually treat shorts equally.
Yeah, and it's just because it's neat to play in a theater. I know North Hollywood Cinefest.
Oh,
All the films play in the Lomeli. Is that how you pronounce it? Lomeli.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. There's a theater chain in Los Angeles that you play in the theater, and that's cool. There was another one that it was on Holly Shorts. You play it at
Mm,
Grauman's. You play at the Chinese theater. That's awesome.
right,
You
right,
play at a
right,
movie
right,
theater.
yeah.
So
Mhm,
yeah, anytime they play shorts in a theater, that's a great festival.
totally.
Another if they offer lodging assistance, even if they offer a discount code for the local hotel,
Mhm.
great. I mean, some festivals will fly you out, but even if they offer a hotel code that's a significant discount, that's huge, because that makes the factoring decision of, am I going to go to this festival, all that much better. So
'Cause that's
that,
part of what you should also consider for your budget is it's not just the submission fees, it's your travel costs.
yeah,
Because that's expensive too, the hotel, the flight, and everything. So, like, the Julian Dubuque International Film Festival is also really great. The thing is a lot of times I don't see festivals offering free lodging for shorts filmmakers. Normally,
yeah.
it's the
Usually
features.
it's the features, right?
Yeah, but Julian does for short filmmakers, so it's a very good one to check out.
That's awesome. I know
Mhm.
there were a couple in New York that were really, really good at offering discount codes and this and that for the attendees. Campus Movie Fest, which is a student film festival, prior to the pandemic, when they did their main event every summer at Universal City in California, they had a deal with
Oh,
what was the
there's a theater there in Universal, right?
yeah,
Is that what you're thinking of? Yeah.
the Sheridan on Universal. That was the
Mhm.
hotel, and they always had it was a huge discount for student filmmakers to come to that. So
Oh,
those are always great, because if they, even if it's not much, the fact that they're trying to help you come out,
right.
great. There's
Totally.
they won't discount your flight, but if here's a bus code to get you a cheaper bus ticket to here, or all
Mhm.
of that stuff is great.
Or a free shuttle. Maybe they have a free
Yeah,
shuttle. Yeah.
free shuttles from the airport is awesome.
Mhm.
If especially if the hotel has a code for the night after the final night of the festival.
Mm.
So if the awards are on a Sunday, if that discount code will last you into Monday morning, that's great.
Great. Yeah.
I've been to some festivals where you have to check out of the hotel because the code ends, and then check back in if you want to stay the night
Oh,
after the awards, and then you have to
annoying.
pay full price for that night. It's annoying. So
Yeah.
yeah, any kind of travel or lodging assistance is really great. Um, Number 4 would be multiple nights of events. Again, it's about the filmmaker experience, right? So
Mhm.
if the
The
festival is
networking.
the networking, if even like, it doesn't have to be a day long schedule of panels and workshops. I just want to know that, where's the bar that the festival is throwing a shindig at that night?
Mhm.
Where's the after party going to be? What's the events? Is the festival organizing the nightly gathering, or do the filmmakers have to just figure it out?
Right.
And even if it's as little as the festival saying, hey, every night, meet here. This is where happy hour is going to be. This is where the networking event is going to be. That's great. Not every festival does that. I've been to festivals where I'm in a city that I've never been before, and it's not a walkable city like New York is.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I don't know where to go. And No other filmmaker knows where to go. And so we, like, 5 of us will end up at this bar, and 10 of them will end up at a bar 2 miles away. And now
Mm,
we're not networking with each other because the festival has not designated the post
a
game
hub.
bar, a hub.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just the hotel, it's like, hey, we're meeting go to the lounge in the hotel. We're there every night, whatever it is.
Right.
Um, some festivals just overlook that and forget to designate the hub. And
Mm-hmm.
so, especially if the hub is near or attached to the also sponsored hotel that is all a part of it, great.
Great.
Because then
Mm-hmm.
if I don't need to take a car somewhere, that's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And number 5.
Number 5, if the festival paints your title on the sidewalk or displays your poster, uh, that was another catalystism where they made their own in Duluth, Minnesota, their own Walk of Fame with
Aw.
all the titles of all the films, or all the TV shows rather, spray painted on the sidewalk. It was really cool, and
Oh, that's
I've
so
never seen that
fun.
before. But
Yeah.
yeah, any of those little things that festivals can do to make you just feel like you're part of it and not just the short filmmaker in a who's the weird, awkward stepchild of a festival full of feature films.
Yes.
Because sometimes you go to a festival and they don't care about the shorts, and the shorts again are screened at the police station on a classroom projector, and the features get red carpet treatment. And so,
Mhm.
it's always great when if you go to a festival and the poster for your short is right next to the poster for like the marquee feature. That's
Right.
cool. Or
Yeah.
or a place where sometimes they designate a wall or a room or something where you can just put up your flyer or leave your postcard on the table or whatever it is. And any place that will put up your artwork or show off your film as part of something being there is super great.
Totally. Yeah, Julian Dubuque went around and printed out multiple just like 8 by 10 posters and but like put them all over, which was great. Like I as a filmmaker didn't even have to do that. They did it for me. Um
Yeah.
yeah. And Rayanne says number 5 may be one of the best feelings, and he's right.
Oh, it's so great. It's like,
Yeah.
especially if they do it before you get there, and then you
Mm,
show up and you see your artwork. Because sometimes they'll ask for like in your EPK when you submit your project, they'll ask you, "Hey, send us artwork for your festival," or I'm sorry,
right.
for your film. And sometimes they'll do that work for you beforehand, which is great.
Right.
Or if they ask for your trailer and then you show up at the hotel and on the TV in the check-in area are all the trailers playing and you see your thing. So
Oh,
all those
yeah. That's fun.
all those little pieces are really fun.
And number 6, you already kind of covered this, but they give you the wink wink, you should attend the awards email.
Yeah,
Very fun.
that's a great email because also that shows them that shows again that they're supporting the filmmaker, and
Mhm.
not going to give you an award because you're not in attendance. They just want to make sure that, hey, you're gonna win something, so don't sleep on this. Like, we want you to look good in this moment. That's an email that shows the festival cares about the filmmaker rather than the festival caring about how they look as a festival. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then let's see, I think this is the last slide. Once accepted. You like that one? It's a great photo of you. Mid mid action shot. It almost looks like somebody was like, "Pose as if you're being interviewed," and you yeah.
It's like someone made a wax sculpture of me,
Oh
and
my god,
it's
yes. Yeah.
that's hilarious.
This is where you insert the burrito or baby. Right here. So Zach, I submitted to film festivals, I got into them. What do I do once I'm accepted?
Go to the festival, go fly out, go to the festival, talk to everybody, go to the after parties, go to the bar, stay up till 2 in the morning, do the thing. Don't sleep for 5 days because that's how you're going to get the most out of the experience.
Yes, for sure. Definitely. Um, well, Zach, I can't believe we've been talking for so long.
Yeah.
Uh, and I feel like we could keep talking, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us and giving us all these amazing tips. They're so good. You have like another thread that's also like advice for filmmakers that I was like, I almost wanted to put in here too. And I was like, it's getting too long. It's
Well,
getting
what was, just because my brain's fried? What was the thread? Do you remember?
I can't I'll have to pull it up
Okay,
again because I
because
closed it.
I
But
know I did one on lining as a director, like lining your screenplay, and
oh, I remember that one. I feel like
we've
that's
talked
how I
about that one.
found you, I
I think
think.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because oh yeah, because then you were like, "Hey, I do this too," and I talk
Yeah,
about this.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Twitter's become a terrible place, so I'm trying to make it slightly less terrible. You
Yes.
know?
Well, what I tell everyone is Twitter is a dumpster fire, but if you curate the people that you follow, it's not that bad of a
It
dumpster fire.
it can be great if, because I don't know, we're all, like Zac Efron famously said, we're all in this together. So I feel like we should just be, helping each other out however we can.
Mhm. Yeah, so definitely follow Zach for more info. He has lots of great Twitter posts that he posts. Zach, you also have a YouTube channel where you post like your behind the scenes when you're making your films as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's just my name on YouTube, youtube.com/Zack Morrison. And I learned, like, I've tried vlogging several times and I've learned I don't like it. I've
I
learned I've
still
learned
do
it's
it
not for
and
me.
don't like it. Yeah, it's the you never quite get over the awkwardness of I'm just talking to a camera alone. All right, this is
Yeah,
weird.
or then it like if you're doing like the Casey Neistat thing down the street where you have
Oh,
your
yeah.
camera out to here and you're just like that. I'm not good with that. I
Mhm.
want to be someone who can enjoy that, and I just genuinely can't. So
I've
my
been pushing myself to do it more because 'cause I've been going to film festivals and shooting vlogs at film festivals, and I'm just like, "Okay, I just have to not care what
right,
anyone thinks of me right now."
yeah.
But then I also get people like I went to a film festival recently and I have this whole because I'm like you lazy and I like to vlog on my phone because I don't want to bring my whole camera setup. And so I have like a whole camera cage and like that attaches a
Oh, you
microphone
rig
and
it
a
up.
light and
Yeah.
like I rig it up. It's like the small rig camera cage for your phone.
Yeah,
It's
that's great.
amazing. And last time I went to a film festival, I actually had like this old school cinematographer was like, "What is this?" And he was, like, super into it, and so it was a conversation piece.
Great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
bring my camera with me to festivals. I often don't use them, but every now and then it's cool to be in a new city and just walk around and take photos. Sometimes I'll
Mm,
do the selfie thing or
yeah.
I think taking Instagram selfies on like a Canon R5 is overkill, but c'est la vie. It's a film
Yeah.
festival. Let's go all out.
See, that's what I need, the R5, it has such a great autofocus. The thing is I have the Panasonic GH5 and its
Oh
autofocus
no.
is not great.
Yeah, you
So it's
can't
not a
do
great vlogging
Panasonic.
camera. No, yeah. Anyway, well, Zach, thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for watching and your great questions in the chat. I believe there's links to Zach in the description thing. That thing. Yeah, there's links to Zach there. Thank you again for watching. And again, if you ever miss a filmmaker chat or you just want to rewatch them, you can do that by supporting me on Patreon for $10 a month. And I think I'm also going to, I have different tiers. So $2 a month. Excuse me, I'm really choked up about it. $2 a month gets you early access to all my videos. $5 a month gets you early access plus all of my filmmaking templates, which includes that film festival tracker that I was talking about. And then $10 a month gets you all of that plus the live stream archives. So you can go back and rewatch them. I haven't done many like this. I did one before with my friend Omar on color theory in film and stuff like that, which was really fun, like film theory, and we covered color. So I hope to do more of these. And I think maybe what I'll do is I will put this Google Slides thing, I'll make it accessible on Patreon. So if you support me there for the $5 a month, you can get access to this as a PDF as well. So thank you so much for, and even if you don't support me, thank you for watching. You don't have to give me money. It's okay. And thank you, Zach, for being here. And
Yeah,
thank you, Spence, for being relatively quiet while I was recording. Let me see if
thanks
he'll
for
say hi.
yeah, thanks for having me.
You're being so weird. Oh, come here. He's He's like, "I don't wanna get up. I'm very
My
comfortable."
my dog is
Oh!
here too.
Oh, everything's fine. Thanks for watching, and, see you next time, and go film it yourself.